Today we're going to take a look at target 3 from unit 3, characteristics of functions. Our focus is going to be on identifying zeros, intercepts, and extremes from a function graph. Some of these terms are going to be familiar, some of them might be new. So the first one, zero. The zero identifies the value that makes a function equation, whether it be y equals or f of x equals, equal to 0. We can find these visually by looking at where the function intersects or touches the x-axis. The intercepts are very closely related to the zeros. All right, the intercepts represents the point. So instead of one single number, it's an ordered pair where a function or its graph intersects, crosses or touches either the x or y axis. So now we're looking at both of the axes and we're writing our answers as coordinates or ordered pairs. Zeros, we're writing individual values, and we're only looking at the x-axis. All right, we've also talked about maximum and minimum before, but when we were talking about them, we were talking about in terms of values. Now we're looking at them visually in terms of the graph. So an absolute maximum represents the highest point of a continuous function. The absolute minimum then represents the lowest point of a continuous function. Keep in mind that not every function is going to have all of these characteristics. So some of them may have all, some of them only may have some of them. All right, so we're going to take a look at a couple together, and then you can try some out on your own. All right, so for our examples, we want to identify each of the characteristics. If it's not present, write NA or none. All right, so just to kind of keep that domain and range skill fresh, we're going to look at finding all of the things here for our 3 graphs. All right, so for the first one, domain, remember domain is from left to right. So our left edge is at -6. Our right edge has an arrow on it. So it goes to positive infinity going to the right. It went as far as -6 and it stopped. Now that was an open circle, so I'm going to do a round parenthesis, and we know infinity is not a single value, it's an idea, so it also gets a round parenthesis. Range, we're looking at bottom and top. All right, so the bottom, is at -4. Still an open circle, so I'm still going to use a round parenthesis there. And our top is still an arrow, so it's going to keep going up and up and up and up, so positive infinity for that end. All right, next, looking at our intercepts. X-intercept, where does it cross the x-axis at? It crosses it right there at 0, 0. Looking at the y-axis, it's also crossing the y-axis at 0, 0. And 0 of a function crosses the x-axis at 0, so 0 the function is when it's equal to 0. All right, maxima, single highest point. Because our graph keeps going up forever, this particular graph has no maxima. Since it's going to keep going up, there's no single highest point. So you can write NA or you can write none, whichever you prefer. Our lowest point is right here at -6, -4. So you may hear the phrase minima or minimum. They're used interchangeably. Similarly for maximum or maxima, they're used interchangeably as well. All right, so let's go to the next one. right? Domain, it's going forever left, it's going forever to the right, so negative infinity to positive infinity. Range, it's going down forever and up forever, so also negative infinity to positive infinity. All right, intercepts. Right there at 3. So this is our x-intercept. It is also going to be our zero of our function. All right, so our x-intercept is at 3, 0. The zero of the function is just the 3. So it uses the x coordinate is always going to be our 0 from the x-intercept down to the 0. All right, for our y-intercept, that's crossing the y-axis at 2. So that's our y-intercept. So 0, 2. All right, and then for our maxima, again, this is going on forever. It never stops, so there is none. And this time it's also going forever down, so it also does not have a single lowest point. So NA for both of them this time. All right, we got one more to look at. All right, domain. Well, it's going forever left, but it has a stopping point here on the right-hand side. So we're going from negative infinity to positive 4, and then it stops. Open circle, so round parenthesis. Range, it only goes to negative 6 on the right side, but this side it's going to keep going. So we go with whichever is the lowest. Well, going down forever is the lowest. So negative infinity for our bottom, top stops right there at positive 3. And since that positive 3 is not an open circle, I do not want to use round parenthesis there like I just wrote. It's a solid line, so I should have a square bracket there. All right, x-intercepts. This time there's 2 of them. At negative 2 and at positive 2. So we're going to write them both. So negative 2, 0, and positive 2, 0. And we're going to rewrite that negative 2 and that positive 2 down on the 0 line. Notice I'm not putting parentheses around those though because they're 2 separate values. All right, y-intercept crosses the y-axis right up here at 3. So that's also our y-intercept. So 0, 3. Maxima, that also happens to be our highest point. So in addition to being the y-intercept, it's also our max. So our maximum is also at 0, 3. So sometimes our points can multitask. Lowest point, well, we had an endpoint here, but remember we had this arrow that supersedes it, so it's going to keep going low, 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 down, down, down. So there is no single lowest value. So that one's going to be NA. All right. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense. On the next page are a couple for you to try. So pause the video here, go try those prompts out, and then come back and check to see how you did. All right, so I gave you a bigger graph and bigger space to write. So hopefully this helped you out a little bit. Domain should have been from negative 6 to infinity. Range should have been from negative 5 to infinity. And everything's got round parentheses because that point down here was an open circle. X-intercepts, we're crossing the x-axis at 3. So that's also the 0 of our function. So 0 is at 3. Our x-intercept is 3, 0. Y-intercept, is at -4. So 0, -4. Maxima, there's no single highest point since we're going up forever. So none or NA. And minima, single lowest point, we do have one of those. That is right here. So that is the lowest point on our graph. And that was at -6, -5. Ordered pair, so we're using parentheses there. All right, number 5. Domain. Left edge was -4, right edge goes forever. Open circle, so around parentheses. Range, it goes down forever, so we're using -infinity for our bottom, and it goes up to +6. So that's our top. X-intercept is at -3, and that's also our 0. So x-intercept is -3, 0. 0, the function is just -3. So if I take my function, set it equal to -3, represents my zeros for my function. Y-intercept crosses the y-axis at also -3. So 0, -3. All right, maxima, highest point. We have one of those this time at -4, 6. Lowest point, because we've got an arrow that's going to continue going down forever left and forever down, there is no single minimum. So you can write none or you can write NA, whichever you prefer. And that takes care of number 5. And then lastly, number 6. All right, domain. Left edge is right on the y-axis, so that's 0. Goes forever to the right. So from 0 to infinity. Range, the lowest it goes is -2. Highest it goes, well, this is going to keep going up. So from -2 to +infinity. X-intercept, it crosses the x-axis at 1. So that's our x-intercept, and it's our 0. So x-intercept's 1, 0. 0, the function is just 1. Y-intercept is right here at that -2. So 0, -2. Maxima, because it keeps going up, there's no single highest point, so none. Minima, it's our lowest point right there at 0, -2. All right, and that's it. That's everything for our zeros, our intercepts, and our extreme values, our maximum and minima. So hopefully this makes a lot of sense to you. If you have questions, feel free to ask me in class, and I will see you in class.